As human beings, we are by nature moral creatures. Not in the sense that we are naturally good people, but in the sense that we are naturally inclined to make and adopt judgments of right and wrong. This means that with few exceptions, those exceptions usually being psychopaths or someone who's inflicted by some kind of mental abnormality, every person holds some kind of values. As our text, Remley 2020, lays out, our personal values guide our behaviors and decisions in matters of right and wrong. They define values as intrinsically personal and note that one's values are influenced by a number of factors such as experience, upbringing, religion, and spirituality. However, the values of one person are never exactly the same as the values of another, and oftentimes can come into conflict with one another. The counseling profession emphasizes the autonomy of the individual. Therefore, the ACA Code of Ethics, in Code A4B, states that counselors are prohibited from imposing their personal values upon their clients. Imposition of values happens when a counselor seeks, whether actively or passively, to influence a client to act or think in accordance with the counselor's own values, thereby failing to give due respect to the client's right to hold and to form their own personal values and beliefs. For example, if I were a counselor and a client of mine was considering becoming involved in religion or spirituality in some way, I could not ethically try to push or influence that client to become Catholic, even though that is the religion which I believe to be true. Truly, this ethics simply goes back to that building block principle of Counseling 101, that the counselor is a counselor and not an advice giver. In reflecting on this moral standard, it seems obvious to me as a devout Catholic that there are many moral teachings of Christ that can and do come in conflict with the values of many people in the world today. Now, rest assured that the very empathy and love for all human beings which drives me to become a counselor applies to all human beings no matter their beliefs or their actions. And that same empathy, that same love for people springs from my love of Christ. So the dignity and respect of the human being, or respect for the dignity of the human being, is at the very forefront of my priorities, even as a counselor. However, some of my beliefs do forbid me from acting in affirmation or in cooperation with things that contradict Christ's teaching. So, how do I deal with that as a counselor? Well, bracketing values, of course, is something that all counselors need to learn how to do. It says so there in our texts. And this involves kind of compartmentalizing the counselor's life. However, that only gets me so far because I can't compartmentalize myself into two different people. There can't be Catholic Jim and Counselor Jim over here. In doing something like that, I would not be being true to myself, my faith, or the clients that I'm serving. So McWhorter, 2019, offers several suggestions for Catholics facing these same difficulties. Catholic counselors, that is. One solution one possible safeguard that he mentions is actually self-disclosure. Now, I know self-disclosure has somewhat of a interesting thinking along those lines. Some people think it shouldn't be done at all. But this kind of self-disclosure would be in the form of maybe informed consent, maybe a statement by a private counselor running his private practice like I would do, disclosing that I am a Catholic and I can't do or counsel anyone to do things that are not that are against the teachings of the faith. So something along those lines. Another solution that he offers is the idea of the treatment goals that are being pursued don't necessarily have to be, well, let me put it this way. They would be, in pursuing treatment goals, the counselor and client would look for goals that they can both consent to and both that goes against neither of their values moving forward. So another thing that I had reflected on in this post was something that one of my friends who is a counselor had talked about one time. He made a comment in passing talking about the counseling profession that he sometimes feels a bit like a robot when he's counseling because he tries very hard to restrain any kind of normal human give and take. For example, he gave the example of someone coming to him who says, my wife and I are expecting another child. While normally, he said, and this would be my reaction too, his normal human being reaction would be, oh, great, congratulations. But in a counselor role, he knows that that would actually be an imposition of values, as minor as it seems, because because the root of counseling itself is to get to the bottom of the client's thoughts, experience, and feelings about what they're going through. So, in conclusion, then, I would say that everything we do as counselors needs, it's important that we have a constant attitude of genuine, empathetic interest and humble curiosity in the experience of the client. Our own thoughts and feelings can take a backseat to that.